Hey everybody, this is Adrienne with Holistic Made Easy, and I am super excited to have a wonderful friend of mine, Summer, joining me today for a conversation. Hi, Summer.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's going great.
Good. It's so good to actually see you again. It's been a little while since we've seen each other in person.
Yes.
Mostly distance. I know you live a little bit a ways away from where I am, but always a joy to see you and to spend time with you. And in fact, before we dive in on our conversation of the day, I have to tell a funny story. So fall of 2019, before the whole world went crazy and lost their minds, my husband and I were on a cruise, an anniversary cruise. And we had just done a big event, our big natural health expo. And we're in the middle of the ocean, 1,000 miles away from home. And I hear somebody, not my husband, I hear somebody behind me say, Adrienne? And I turn around and there's Summer and Rodney, and you guys were on the same boat having
yes.
as well.
That was pretty interesting. They say it's a small world.
What are the chances? But
Right. What are the odds?
But you guys were a delight to vacation with that week.
Yes.
But let's dive into the topic at hand. So we're going to talk about something it's a hot topic now, but it's been a passion of yours for a long time.
Yeah.
Ways to nourish your baby when breastfeeding is no longer an option.
Right.
Now, before I dive in on that, I have to say, Summer, you're an advocate for holistic health. You've gone through your own autoimmune diagnoses and you've been able to reverse those.
Yes.
Health and wellness. So
yes.
This is not something that you're unfamiliar with. This is something that you've journeyed through for a lot of years.
Correct.
And so when you and your husband had your son, this is something that you were able to apply to raising your son as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the formula shortage is going on right now, and people giving remedies and suggestions. We just want to clear the air a little bit because you have experience in this arena.
Yes.
And so let's just dive in. I want to hear about your own experience as a new mom and how this helped you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much, Adrienne, for having me on here to talk about this and to share, my experience and journey with my son. And I just want to say to all the listeners that if you're going through this crisis right now, I'm so sorry. I was just talking to my husband. I was like, I can't imagine as new parents and a new mom not being able to feed my child.
Yeah.
And how, much of a struggle this must be. And if you're going through this, I'm so sorry, but there is hope. Mm-hmm. And there is a way that you can feed your baby. And so I just wanted to share a little bit, like you said, about my experience after I had my son. My plan was to nurse. Yeah. That was the plan. I wasn't going to do anything else. Nursing was the only option. And when that wasn't working out, I nursed, but I had to supplement because my supply was just not meeting my son's needs. Mm-hmm. And so, like all other moms, what do? We go to the store and we get some formula, right? So I quickly realized, though, that it wasn't working for him. I'll never forget, as long as I live, the first time he drank it. It wasn't long, and he just projectile vomited, and his legs just curled up, and I knew instantly his stomach. It was really hard on his stomach, and I thought, and you know how it is the first time mom, you're sleep deprived, you're emotional, and it's just like, what do I do? This is not working out. And so, we tried several different kinds of infant formula from the store. And nothing was working. He was, still having these stomach problems, still projectile vomiting. And a friend of mine actually encouraged me to see a local holistic practitioner. And so I went and I saw her, and I mean, I'm a fresh mom, and I had to have a C-section. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm sore. I'm frustrated. I'm emotional. I don't know what to do. And she looks down at my diaper bag and she sees the can of formula, and she looks at me and she says, "That's like giving your child McDonald's every day." Oh, I mean, talk about a tough thing to hear and a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But I swallowed it because I knew that something had to change for my son. And so she introduced me to the idea of homemade formula. And at first, I mean, I was on board, but my husband was like, "Oh, I don't know about this." He was a little more, apprehensive, which is understandable, right? That's all we've ever known. And so we started digging in and researching. She introduced to us a company called Mount Capra. And so we really just started digging in and researching. And we decided to take the plunge at 2.5, when my son was 2.5 months old. And Adrienne, like, I'm not even kidding. We started giving him the homemade formula, and it was a night and day difference in his health. No more stomach cramps, no more projectile vomiting. He was a happy baby.
Aww.
Happy baby. And it was just such an answer to prayer and relief as a mom, that I can halfway sleep now, that my son's not in pain or throwing up. So that's a little bit of the a backstory for us. So
Wow. And I know that as a new mom, I remember being there too. And I too had to have an emergency C-section. And when
right.
according to plan and you're sleep
Right.
deprived, you just get overwhelmed. And all you
Yes.
can do is take care of your baby. And when you feel like you
Right.
can't do that, you get so frustrated so quickly.
Right.
So that's
And the support, the lack of support for moms. First of all, having a baby, when you come home from the hospital, you basically have 6 weeks of nothing. And that's just, it's not okay. And something needs to change for women and for their babies and families. I mean, it's awful. It's terrible.
Yeah. New mamas can always use more support and more community,
Right.
besides just wanting to come over and see the cute baby.
Right.
The practical things, right?
Sure.
So absolutely. So obviously you found Mount Capra, which we love as a brand. We've used their
Yes.
goat's milk colostrum, which that could be a whole other interview in and of itself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nutritional value with goat's milk and the colostrum and other things, but let's focus right now on the formula. So
yes.
What did you use, and what would you suggest to new mamas when they are looking at making their own formula when breastfeeding is no longer an option?
Right. Well, and I will say this too, that, there is the option, for donor milk. Friends, if you have friends that are nursing. I have a friend right now that in the past, when her milk wasn't coming in or, producing enough, she had a friend that she got milk from. So that's an option. I know there's so many moms right now that are stepping up to the plate. Thank you, moms. That are stepping up to the plate and donating their milk. That's beautiful and it's amazing.
Yes.
But if that's not an option, if you're not able to get donor milk, you can make your own. And I want to say this really fast, and you may be asking me this in another question, and I apologize if I'm jumping the game here, but I get the concerns over making your own formula. There's been a lot of, concerns raised by the news media, by pediatricians. I totally get that. And it can be problematic if you don't do it the right way. And if the baby's not getting all of the right nutrients and things like that, it can be problematic. So I totally get it. But to answer your question, Mount Capra has a recipe that was put together by Joe Stout, who is the president and founder of the company. He has a master's degree in clinical nutrition. He formulated the recipe, I think about 10 years ago. And he has 9 children, I believe. And, his children have used the formula. He has seen so many families be successful with it. I have personally seen babies coming off of acid reflux medications. their stomach problems going away. I mean, it's been a beautiful thing to see. But basically, I followed his recipe. It's a goat milk powder, and then it's lactose, and oil. He recommends high oleic sunflower oil, but I used avocado oil. That's just a different preference. And then there is the vitamins, the probiotics, the DHA. Blackstrap molasses is very critical for iron and to keep the bowels regulated. And then there is grapeseed oil for linoleic acid, and then coconut oil for the triglycerides and things like that. So that's kind of in a nutshell, a really fast, the ingredients that I used in the formula. And like I said, it was a beautiful transformation for my son and for other babies that I have seen do beautiful with this. So I hope that was answering the question.
Yes. And I think that that's important to help new mamas and parents understand, it's a holistic approach, making sure that your baby is still getting the things that they would normally get through breast milk, the vitamins, the probiotics, the supplementation. It's not just the goat milk aspect, which is supposed to be gentle on the system. It's making sure that you infuse it with the things that you would normally get.
Right. And even, Joe Stout has talked about that. You can't just do goat milk alone. And that's been one of the concerns that has been raised by pediatricians is the protein content in the goat milk alone. And that's why you have to have it in a recipe with water to dilute that. He talks about how goat milk, the protein structure is actually very, very similar to that of breast milk. But the content can be high. And that's why he said you have to add it to a recipe so that it brings down that protein level and content of the milk. So yes, absolutely, for sure.
And so when you put this all together, is it something that you would make on demand as needed, or can you make it in a bigger batch? Help me understand, because that's not something that I ever had to do when I was tiny. So help us understand how that works.
Oh, I made it in batches.
Awesome.
Yeah, there was no way that I was going to sit there and make every time my child had to eat all this formula stuff. So I put it in shaker bottles.
Okay.
And I would make them 16 ounces at a time and keep them in the refrigerator. Now that's the wet formula. There is also a dry mix formula that is probably going to be easier for the moms that are, they're on the go and they don't have time to warm a bottle up or something. So there is a dry mix option that's easier for the moms that need something fast, but I chose the wet formula, and like I said, I would make it in batches and keep it in my fridge so that it was ready to go, and I just had to warm it up.
That's awesome. And kudos, because anything that can be made in big batches or made in advance, like that's time saver.
Yes.
That's so critical for new moms and those that are sleep deprived and you're trying to take care of a million different things. Having something that's made in advance, or like you said, the dry, mix for moms on the go, making it as convenient as possible while making sure your baby's well taken care of.
Right.
I love it. So obviously your son stopped with having the stomach issues, all of that. A question that's going to be big on a lot of moms' minds is, how did he do with that? Did he thrive? Do you feel like he missed anything, or do you feel like he grew and was just a normal, happy baby?
Oh, absolutely. It went from night and day difference. And he's very healthy. I mean, met all of his milestones. I mean, he's very healthy. I'm very, very thankful, for a healthy child. I didn't know if we were going to be able to have a healthy child, and that's a whole different topic. And that was my own personal journey.
We're just going to have a whole series, because there are some other things that I think you could share from your journey that would help mamas.
Yeah, but the Lord was faithful and gave us a very healthy son, and he did beautifully on the homemade formula. No issues whatsoever, no deficiencies, no nothing, because I added in the right nutrients for him. And so that's key. That is key for sure.
Absolutely. And so how long did you have him on this formula before you started adding in other things?
So you mean like foods and things like that?
Yeah, like introducing foods.
Yeah. So that's definitely a whole nother topic.
I know.
A whole nother topic. You know, and that really is going to be a personal preference for moms.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, and this is just a personal thing,
Mm-hmm.
I personally would have waited longer
Mm-hmm.
to introduce some solid foods just because of gut permeability and things like that.
Yeah.
I want to say that I started giving Gabriel some oatmeal around 6 months of age.
And that
But
pretty standard for a lot of families to start,
right, right. Yeah, right. I probably would have waited just a little bit longer. And that's just a personal thing. Like I said, everybody's going to be different.
Yeah.
Just because the gut is very permeable in babies.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, if you start introducing foods, it can cause some allergies and things like that, you know, before the gut is sealed. But that's a whole nother topic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, girl.
But as far as like he stayed on the formula,
Mm-hmm.
I and this and what I'm about to say is another topic too, but he stayed on the formula on the powder, on the dry powder from Mount Kepra until around 15 months of age.
Awesome.
And then I switched him
Mm-hmm.
over to raw milk. Now that's a whole nother ball game, Adrienne.
It is.
I don't know if you want to get into that one today, but I did.
We'll hold that one for sure.
Yeah.
But good. So you did that with him for over the course of 15 months. You kept him on some form of that to help his diet, which is awesome.
Yes.
I love
that.
And
he did beautiful. He did amazing.
That's awesome. So there are a lot of myths out there right now.
Yes.
Misinformation. So if you could just pick a couple that if you could help clear the air on them, what would they be? What would you say to some of the things that are being circulated out there right now about making?
Yeah. So that, you know, if you decide to make your child's, you know, formula, that it's just going to, you know, I mean, that it's just going to kill your child. It's going to be dangerous. And again, I do want to reiterate that you have to do it the right way.
Just
that's
like anything
key.
Else, just like anything in your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we take a risk every day. Life is full of risks. We take a risk getting in the car. Well, if we drive the wrong way, we increase our risk of something wrong happening. Right. So just that, you know, that you can't make your own homemade formula. That's a myth. That's not true. And another thing that I would say is, you know, and we touched on this just a little bit earlier, but just some of the myths about using goat milk as an option in homemade formula. You know, again, there's concerns from pediatricians about the protein levels. Again, I get that. That's why you have to add water to the mix. Joe Stout even talks about that. Yeah. So that's, you know, one of the concerns, you know, that they've had. And then I was trying to think of something else. And just adding in the right things because, you know, it's possible. You can do it. Yeah. You can do it. It's possible for your baby to have homemade formula and it be right and it be healthy for your child and safe.
Yeah. And not difficult. It sounds like it's
right.
You've got the recipe and you can follow those directions.
Right.
It's very together.
Once you get the hang of things, like it's very smooth and it flows. It's just learning how to do it the right way. Yeah.
So we'll make sure that anyone who tunes into this has access to that formula and
yes.
any links or information that you want to share. So I'm sure
yes.
people are asking, where can I find this? I need
yes.
this. So we'll make sure that we have that included as a source of information for folks. So, so Summer, is there anything else that you want to share that would encourage parents, especially moms, as they're maneuvering just life as a new mom and learning their baby and learning how to take care of their baby?
I just want to say that, you know, dear mom, you know what is best for your baby. And I just want to encourage moms to listen to that intuitive instinct that God put within us all. And I think a lot of times that intuition, that mom intuition gets stripped from us by fear, by those, you know, in authority, over our babies and things like that. I just really want to encourage moms to listen to what their instinct is saying and have an open mind. Be willing to say, okay, well, this is what this person is saying. Well, I want to look at all sides to this. And then, I will make that decision, not based in fear, but based on what my intuition is saying and what my gut is saying for my child. And I was also thinking about this for the moms that, they're struggling, to even put food on the table. My heart just goes out to these moms. And I want to say too, that the ingredients in the formula, a lot of them you can get like at the grocery store. So if there's moms that like they have WIC or something like that, I have heard different things. I honestly don't know 100%, but I've heard different things, like some people saying that WIC does cover some of these ingredients in the store. I've heard some people say they've had a harder time. I'm honestly not 100% sure on that, but please look into that. If that's, your situation and you have to have some assistance, those things are available in the grocery store. For you to look into, getting assistance with that. So I just wanted to share that because, there's a broad spectrum of moms, that are going to be watching. And so I just wanted to share that for them too, but you can do this.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody tell you that you can't, because you can do this. That's just what I want to reiterate, that you can.
Yes. And your family is living proof of that. Things
Yes.
don't always go according to plan. In fact, a lot of things in life do not.
Yes.
And so you just have to pray and discern what's going to be best. That using that mom intuition, that God-given gift to know what is best and right for your child, and
Right.
not fear get in the way of doing what is the best. It may not always be the easiest, but doing what's best is always going to be something that's honored and rewarded.
Right.
by God. So
Right. Absolutely.
That's a good word for the mamas.
Yeah. I do want to add just one more thing, Adrienne, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
About the goat milk. So the difference in goat milk versus cow milk is the digestive proteins in the milk. So goat milk has something called A2 digestive protein. A lot of cow milk does not have this. There are some Jersey cows that do have the protein, but goat milk has that protein, the A2, and that is what is helping so many people be able to tolerate dairy because of that digestive protein. And that's why, babies can thrive on that, because that's an easier, protein to digest. Now this is not a black and white issue. I know there's going to be some babies that they're having other issues, that's causing them to not be able to tolerate goat milk. And that will happen. And that I've seen it happen, not often, but sometimes they can't. So that's another, set of circumstances. But I did want to add that in there because that is a very important factor in the difference between cow milk and goat milk and why it's easier to digest.
Absolutely. And I will say this too, because neither you nor I are, professionals in this area.
Correct.
And so
Yes.
this is just something that you're sharing from your own experience.
Yes.
We aren't telling all the mamas out there, go make your own stuff.
No, right.
Something that you need to use your discernment and your judgment on.
Yes.
If you have a doctor that does not agree with you and you feel strongly this is something that you need to do, there are holistic pediatricians out there and functional medicine doctors and integrative practitioners, and there are people that will advocate for you. And so just because there's somebody in that authority position and you feel strongly about it, if they're saying no, this is not right, you're going to do something wrong to your baby, but you feel like it's the right thing to do, there are professionals that have the experience that will advocate for you to help make it the way you want it to be. And that's what it should be, is taking responsibility for your own health and for your family's own health, because you're ultimately responsible for them.
Correct.
So I just wanted to throw that in there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not a doctor.
Right.
We have years of life experience with our families, and we've seen things that work well. And so I just want to encourage these families to not be afraid of finding somebody that does have that experience and the professional certification side that will stand behind them and help them advocate for what they truly want to do for their families.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Summer, thank you so much. I think this is going to be an encouragement to so many families. Blessings on you and your husband and your son. I'll connect with you and we'll make sure that people have the information that they need so they can have resources on how to make their own formula, more information on goat's milk and the powder. Just all the wonderful things. And we'll definitely be circling back on some of the other topics that we touched on, because I think a lot of folks would be encouraged by other parts of your journey and your story too. So, but thank you, Summer. And I appreciate you taking time with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Adrienne. It's always a pleasure catching up and talking.
Same. See you soon.